Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to review the finale for Star Wars Acolyte. Now, unfortunately, there was a lot of storylines sort of left unfinished, and given the fact that a season 2 isn't really confirmed right now, there are stories that we may never get the answers to, which can be frustrating. So there's some pros and cons to this episode, so let's get into it. So we see that Soul has explained to May everything that happened back on Brendok. So in the opening of this episode, she escapes the ship. There's a ship chase scene, and it's clunky. Nothing really happens. No one really shoots. It feels like a big waste of time and budget for some ship space chase. So anyway, moving on from that, which that was our grand opening to the finale. We get interesting bits of pieces for Chimera and Osha. The planet, the unconfirmed planet, they are ready to go look for May together. So as they leave the planet, we see what appears to be Darth Plagueis appear for the first time in live action, watching as they leave. Now, of course, there are some Star Wars fans that can say, well, technically, Disney might create a new character that happens to look like him, so it might not really be him, because we don't get his name, he doesn't speak. But seeing the controversy the show has presented to the franchise, I don't see them going forward with the story of him being someone that's not Darth Plagueis. So we sort of get a glimpse from him. He's sort of just this cameo. He doesn't really do anything at all. He doesn't say anything. It's just a cameo. So in and of itself, it's interesting, but it's sort of frustrating given that we may not get him appearing again, which will make it hard for the show to either, one, be decanonized later, two, retcon, or three, worked around. Because now Chimera and Osha are directly connected to Plagueis. If people don't care to watch season 2, if they don't make a season 2, it's going to be hard putting Darth Plagueis with something else. They're going to have to explain away the whole Chimera and Osha storyline as some background story later. So irregardless, we'll see what happens with him in future Star Wars projects, if Darth Plagueis will make a return in some pre-Phantom Menace storyline. So on Brendok, in the present now, Brendok is where we get all of our current characters meeting up. Chimera and Osha go to Brendok. May and Soul end up on Brendok. Vernestra and a collection of unnamed Jedi show up on Brendok. And this is where we sort of get our confrontations. Soul does fight Chimera again. So, visually speaking, it does look good. The choreography's neat. I don't know if it's as good as episode 5, only because I was super hyped for episode 5. So, I think I was a little biased loving that episode so much that I couldn't allow myself to think that this fight was better. But overall, it looked great. Chimera and Soul do fight, and ultimately, in front of Chimera, Osha, and May, everyone learns the truth about how Soul sort of let May die, I guess. And so Osha gets super pissed, and we get sort of something that we didn't see coming, but I think expect in the back of our minds. She turns on Soul, and this is where it gets interesting, because we actually get to see, as she's holding Soul's lightsaber, she bleeds the crystal. So his kyber crystal, we see the color from blue turn to red, and she doesn't kill him with a lightsaber, though. She force chokes him to death. So it's sort of interesting because she sort of takes May's place by proving to Chimera that she can kill a Jedi without using a weapon, just as he has. And so she sort of cements herself as the potential to be his apprentice by killing Soul, having a now red lightsaber. But May sort of takes off, Osha takes off, Chimera take off, and they all leave before the Jedi arrive. As Vernestra gets there, she sees Soul's body, she sees the scene. We sort of get a glimpse into Vernestra and Chimera's potential relationship. We see that they're both sensing each other. This is because Chimera doesn't have his mask on at this scene. So regardless, Vernestra sees the scene in front of her, and the Jedi spread out. They go looking for Chimera, Osha, and May. And Osha and May meet up at this tree as we've seen in the previous episodes. And they come up with this decision when Chimera shows up that Chimera is going to wipe May's memory so that she can't reveal anything to the Jedi. And it's just sort of confusing because just as in A New Hope, when Obi-Wan just waved his hand on a stormtrooper to make him not need to see her identification, it's a simple force mind trick. But Chimera also just sort of does this, and now her memory's gone. So it was just kind of, for lack of a better term, it felt very plot armory to me, just as an excuse to get rid of May for the story. So Osha, now being potentially a dark side user now, goes with Chimera to be his apprentice. They leave, the Jedi find May. Now, of course, she can't give any information. There's a dragged on scene about Vernestra giving her bits and pieces of what her life was like, even though she doesn't remember any of it, trying to make her remember, but she still doesn't. And that's sort of where May's left, is in the hands of the Jedi, being asked questions she has no idea how to answer. But in the final scenes of this episode, Vernestra also pitches to the council, or not the council, to the Senate, that Sol was responsible for all of the attacks, and potentially he's the one that killed all the Jedi, and there's no Sith. So they're sort of shutting down the rumors of Sith altogether, even though that's not what they think it is. It's believed that Chimera is Vernestra's apprentice, or former apprentice. So her theories back in, I believe it was episode 4, are, in her mind, true, is the killer of these Jedi is a former Jedi. Which is true, but he's also Plagueis' apprentice, so he's not Sith Lord yet. But he is former Jedi, so they sort of found the perfect gray area to put him in for this story, for the season as a whole. And where we leave our characters in this finale, Vernestra meets up with Yoda. Like Plagueis, he doesn't say or do anything. It's just for cameo's sake, which I guess is interesting, but kind of annoying at the same time, because you would like to see him do something, but he just doesn't. So the Jedi, as far as Chimera killing the Jedi and everything Sol did with Brendok, the whole thing is presented to be Sol's fault, and the whole story is wrapped up. May is just, if she were in a season 2, I don't know what her story would even be. She's just left without any memory, the hands of the Jedi, and that's that. Osha is now Chimera's apprentice, and if there were to be a season 2, we can assume Darth Plagueis would have at least a small part of that. And that's really where our characters are left off. So there's really nothing resolved. We still don't know if Chimera gets a Sith title or a Darth title. We don't know if he really is Sith yet. We don't know what's going to happen to Osha. And if the series is canceled, they don't make another season, Chimera and Osha being alive and dark side, and Plagueis' apprentice and then secondary apprentice, sort of, it just presents a plot hole if the story is ignored. So hopefully, if they don't go through with the season 2, they can do sort of what Marvel did with Guardians and Werewolf by Night, where it's a Disney Plus production, but it's just basically an hour. I think maybe they should just do that. Just wrap up Chimera and Osha's story, and then they don't need to do more seasons. I don't think it's necessary. I think the Old Republic era is a great era to explore. I'm still uncertain of how it was handled in this show. There was a lot of potential that was never explored in the characters and stories they already had. They had some neat characters, they had some great actors in the show, but the great actors were the ones with the weaker scripts, and it just felt like nothing was complementing the other. So we'll see if there's a season 2, we'll see what happens. Overall, this finale was okay. There was nothing that made it really exciting except for just seeing Sol fight Chimera again. But ultimately, it just was close enough to the boring side that it's not really all that memorable, unfortunately. So we'll see where this franchise goes from here. I don't know if the Acolyte is going to get another season. If they do, it will be interesting to see how they handle these characters again. So thanks for sticking with me. I finished reviewing the Acolyte. I'm now looking for the next series to review. If you have recommendations, let me know in the comments. I'll plan on still reviewing movies. So thank you guys for sticking with me, and I'll see you next time.